didn't know it necessarily, but we just got over Easter weekend, and so this piece is called Thoughts at the Cross. Imagine the scene. Jesus has been hung on the cross, and it seems as if everyone who is there, with the exception of a few of his disciples, is mocking him, having little understanding of who he really is and what he was doing hanging on a cross. Matthew 27, verses 39 through 43. And those passing by were hurling abuse at him, wagging their heads, and saying, "Save yourself! If you are the Son of God, come down from the cross." In the same way, the chief priests also, along with the scribes and elders, were mocking him and saying, "He saved others. He cannot save himself. He is the King of Israel. Let him now come down from the cross, and we shall believe in him. He trusts in God. Let him deliver him now, if he takes pleasure in him, for he said, 'I am the Son of God.'" Mark 15, verses 30-31. Save yourself and come down from the cross. In the same way, the chief priests also, along with the scribes, were mocking him among themselves and saying, "He saved others. He cannot save himself." Luke 23, verses 35 through 37 and verse 39. And even the rulers were sneering at him, saying, "He saved others. Let him save himself if this is the Christ of God, his chosen one." And the soldiers also mocked him, coming up to him, offering him sour wine, and saying, "If you are the King of the Jews, save yourself." And one of the criminals who were hanged there was hurling abuse at him, saying, "Are you not the Christ? Save yourself and us." Of course, Jesus knew the ultimate result of his crucifixion, but one can't help but think of how discouraged he might have felt at that moment. He was experiencing excruciating pain and agony on behalf of those mocking him. When he said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing," as noted in Luke 23:34, was he referencing the act of the crucifixion itself? Or was the crowd's mockery included in that? Either way, I can't but imagine how discouraged he was that no one seemed to recognize the true significance of his suffering. And then, I believe that the Father used the other criminal hanging with him to provide a little bit of encouragement. Luke 23, verses 40 through 43. But the other answered, and rebuking him, said, "Do you not even fear God, since you are under the same sentence of condemnation? And we indeed justly, for we are receiving what we deserve for our deeds, but this man has done nothing wrong." And he was saying, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And he said to him, "Truly I say to you, today you shall be with me in paradise." At least there was one person who seemed to have gotten the message and understood who he truly was, and maybe even what he was hanging there for. John 19, verses 25 through 27. But there was standing by the cross of Jesus his mother, and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus, therefore, saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved standing nearby, he said to his mother, "Woman, behold your son." Then he said to the disciple, "Behold your mother." And from that hour the disciple took her into his own household. When I first heard the "woman, behold your son" part, my first thought was Jesus was drawing his mother's attention to himself hanging on the cross. "Look, Ma, no hands." However, in light of what he then told John, the disciple that he loved, I saw it differently. In essence, he was telling John, look, I belong down there to take care of my mother in her old age, and you should be up here for all that you've done. Therefore, since I'm in your place on this cross and will not be around to take care of my mother, you should be in my place on the earth and take care of her. In a larger context, this is what I see as his followers, charged to be on earth in his place, doing the things he would be doing. And, it tells us in the Gospels we can see all kinds of things he would be doing. One of the things that we don't see in the Gospel is Jesus lecturing people about their sin. He does let people know that, that they are sinning, they shouldn't be sinning, but he's not lecturing them like a lot of church people sometimes will do with, the only people that he really made an issue out of it with, it was those who said they knew what was going on, but they were without sin. They could see, they knew the law, and Jesus told them, well, you'd have an excuse if you didn't know, but since you say you do know, you have no excuse. So he's, making an issue of their diverging from the law, as it were. Although, to tell you the truth, in recent days, I have come to the conclusion that it is all about choosing and consequences. It's not about rewards and punishment. We have been given the ability to make free choices, to make our own decisions, and every decision does have a consequence. Some of those consequences are beneficial and desirable. Other consequences are harmful or detrimental and certainly not desirable. Which consequences we get are the direct result of the decisions that we make. Not in the sense that, we chose to break the rules, so God's going to punish us, as much as inherent in what we've done. The choice that we made either has in it the reward or the punishment. God doesn't have to strike us with lightning or anything like that. He just stands back and allows us to experience the consequences of the choices that we make. That's what brings us the happiness or the sadness that we experience in our lives. There are some things that are out of our control, but the bottom line is that it's not like God is punishing us or God is rewarding us as much as God is just allowing us to make choices. And he does help us to choose wisely. His word is not only, with the law, the commandments, giving us some very direct direction in how to make good choices, but he has all kinds of parables and other illustrations to show us the choices and the consequences that we need to be considering. So anyhow, that's my thoughts at the cross.